Hello. Well, is it possible that some of the things that we do every day may actually be getting in the way of us getting good blood pressure control? And is it also possible that even though your doctor may be helping you, in principle, he or she may actually be hindering your blood pressure control? Because sometimes we appear to be doing everything right, but our blood pressure control is not on point, and we're left wondering why. So what am I talking about? How about you stay tuned and we have a little chat about it in a couple of seconds. See you shortly.
Now for today's 2020 idea to better health, please welcome on stage Dr. Joe.
Welcome back. Well, I'm Dr. Joe of the drjoe.com. Now, if this is your first time on this channel, can I extend a warm welcome to you? This is your home or 2020 ideas to better health. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. And also, please don't forget to click on the notification bell because that's how you get notified of future videos that I make. So, other things that we do every day, agents that we consume every day, that may actually be getting in the way of us getting very good blood pressure control. Well, without further ado, let's get into the meat of the presentation. So, yes, today we're going to be talking about 14 surprising things that may actually elevate your blood pressure. And it is important you be on the lookout for these things, especially if you're having difficulty with your blood pressure control. So what are these surprising things that may actually raise your blood pressure? Well, the first one is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, what we call NSAIDs. And there's a huge number of drugs that fall into this category. Some of them are listed here. Celecoxib, sold as Celebrex, diclofenac, marketed as Cambia, Cataflam, Voltaren, XR, Zipsor, Zovalex, Voltarol. Ibuprofen, also sold as Motrin, Advil, Nurofen. Indomethacin, sold as Indocin. Ketoprofen, that's another. Naproxen is another very popular one, marketed as Aleve, Anaprox, Naprilan. Oxaprozin, sold as Depro. Piroxicam, also marketed as Feldin. Now, these medications are very effective for pain relief, but the downside is that they actually affect your kidney function negatively, and that, of course, then leads to water retention, and then your blood pressure goes up. So you got to be very careful with them. You know, short-term use is not a problem, but if you've got to have to be using them for the medium to long term, then it becomes an issue. Next is pain. Of course, pain does rev up your sympathetic nervous system. So when you're in pain, that would be a bad time for you to actually check your blood pressure because it's guaranteed to be elevated. The third thing is St. Johnswort. Now, this is a very popular herbal remedy that is used for anxiety, depression. Is sold all over the world. And what St. Johnswort does is that it actually inhibits an enzyme that is called monoamine oxidase, because this enzyme is supposed to lead to the breakdown of norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. And if the activity of this enzyme is inhibited, then of course norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine are going to accumulate, and in turn that leads to an elevation of your blood pressure. In fact, there have been reports of hypertensive crisis with St. Johnswort. That's a case report that was published in the American Journal of Medicine. And this happened in an individual who was using St. Johnswort. And of course, he consumed one of these foods, tyramine-rich foods. So, you know, if you're using St. Johnswort, then you have to avoid tyramine-rich foods. You know, foods like cheese, sauerkraut, chicken liver, red wine, soy sauce, because they can actually cause hypertensive crisis, which can be very, very dangerous. Next is licorice. This is also popular. Now, licorice, especially the black licorice, it contains glycyrrhizin, and studies have shown that frequent use of glycyrrhizin will actually raise your systolic blood pressure. This is the upper value, the top reading that is, by about 14.4 units. So you got to be careful if you are consuming licorice and you've got high blood pressure. Next is bitter orange. Now, bitter orange is used in a lot of weight loss supplements. Is used for athletic performance, to enhance athletic performance. Used for indigestion, PMS. But the truth of the matter is that bitter orange does actually raise your blood pressure. In fact, there's a study here that looked at just a single dose of bitter orange, which raised both the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure. Not only that, it actually raised the heart rate as well. And this effect lasted for up to 5 hours after just a single dose of bitter orange. So be careful if you're using any product that has bitter orange in them. Next, you need to be careful about is full bladder. Of course, this is just a cautionary note. You shouldn't be checking your blood pressure if your bladder is full. Empty your bladder either when you go to the doctor's surgery or when you're checking your blood pressure at home. Make sure your bladder is empty, because your blood pressure will be artificially elevated. Next is nasal decongestants that are used in common cold and cough. You know, these decongestants like Sudafed, they may contain substances like phenylephrine or pseudoephedrine. Now, phenylephrine and pseudoephedrine actually cause narrowing of your blood vessels, and then of course your blood pressure will be elevated if you're using some of these decongestants. So be very careful with them because they may raise your blood pressure. Next is weight loss medications, and this of course includes prescription weight loss medications and the over-the-counter pills. I used to work in a weight loss clinic. At that time, I used to prescribe phentermine and diethylpropion. These medications actually do affect blood pressure. I can confirm that these two medications that we used to prescribe do actually cause elevation of blood pressure. And one of the things we used to do was to check the patient's blood pressure on every visit because of these associated risks. And of course, over-the-counter pills may contain ephedra, caffeine. So if you're using over-the-counter weight loss pills, look out for the list of ingredients. If they have ephedra or caffeine, then of course you should not be using them, because they will raise your blood pressure, almost guaranteed. Next is estrogen containing pills. These pills are used all over the world. They're generally safe, but if you are somebody who is over 35, if you're overweight and you're a smoker, then of course the likelihood of estrogen containing pills raising your blood pressure actually goes up. So if you've got these risk factors, then of course you may want to reconsider using the estrogen containing pills. Next is anti-migraine medications, the triptans to blame. And a classic example would be sumatriptan, because it causes narrowing of blood vessels, and of course your blood pressure is going to be elevated if you're using any of the triptans because of this effect of vasoconstriction. Next is monoamine oxidase inhibitors, antidepressants. I've talked about this before. These medications work by actually blocking the breakdown of neurotransmitters called norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine in the brain. And of course, if you block the activity of the enzyme, that will lead to accumulation of these substances. And the consequence of that is that your blood pressure will rise. So these antidepressants actually work by changing your brain chemistry, but at the same time, they run the risk of elevating your blood pressure. So be careful if you're using monoamine oxidase inhibitors, especially when you consume foods like the cheeses, the sauerkraut, the cured meats, the draft beer, these fermented soy products like soy sauce, miso, and tofu, because your blood pressure will potentially be elevated, and indeed you can actually have hypertensive crisis as well. Next is other antidepressants, the very popular ones, what we call the SSRIs, venlafaxine, sold as Effexor XR, the tricyclic antidepressants, amitriptyline, imipramine, sold as Tofranil, fluoxetine, which is sold as Prozac or Sarafem, very popular. They potentially can also actually elevate your blood pressure, so be careful if you're using these medications and your blood pressure control is not very good. You might need to seek a review. Next is stimulants like methylphenidate. In this group, you have Ritalin and Concerta. These medications are used for ADHD and narcolepsy. And the point is, they will not only raise your BP, they actually also increase your heart rate. So they're going to make your heart work harder. They're not very good medications, I have to say. So if you've got high blood pressure, they're not medications that you want to be on. Next is herbal teas. Of course, you've heard me talk about this before. I've done videos about herbal teas, the ones that are not very good for your blood pressure. They're usually caffeinated. So I'm referring to teas like black tea, oolong tea, regular green tea, matcha tea, green tea extract. they are not good for your blood pressure because of the caffeine in them. So usually with green tea, I say if you're going to use green tea, then of course you have to drink the decaffeinated brand. But beyond that, you should not be drinking regular green tea if you've got high blood pressure. And the reason is because of the fact that they got caffeine in them, and also the fact that you're probably going to be consuming multiple cups of this tea a day, and then you're going to have this cumulative effect, which of course is going to lead to a sustained rise in your blood pressure. So best avoid it. So there you go. That was a very nice list of agents that could actually be hindering a good blood pressure control for yourself. Now that you are aware of some of those agents, then the next thing you need to do is to actually find a solution to the problem. What does that mean? Well, if it is something that is within your control, for instance, if you're using a weight loss over-the-counter pill, then of course you can stop using them. It's as simple as that. You just stop using it. And if it is a prescription medication, then of course you need to approach your doctor, have a little chat with him or her, and between the two of you, you reach a compromise as to finding an alternative to that prescription pill that he or she has been prescribing for you. Because you need to achieve good blood pressure control, and if there's something that is actually sabotaging that, then you need to do something about it. That was the essence of this video. If you enjoyed this video, as usual, give it a thumbs up. Please share this video with your friends, family, and colleagues. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. And if you've got any comments regarding this video, as usual, leave your comments down below. And if there's anything that I actually missed out from this list, please let me know about it down below as well. I think that's about it. Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.